So this is the last option in the module. This one is going to focus solely on abortion. So if you don't want to talk about abortion, then I would go check out the other two options. But basically for this one, you are going to be given a scenario that you have to give a response to. So I'm going to go into it more detail if you want to stick around for this one. So for this one, we're going to be in Chapter 7, Abortion. Now, I don't have a specific section for you. I would just suggest you kind of go through and just kind of read. There's a lot of information in here. It's I wouldn't say it's a dry chapter, but it is very analytical. It's very academic. It does talk about the legality of it and the reasons why people would be needing an abortion and the role that medicine plays in that. So take a look through there. It might help you formulate your response and how to kind of, I guess, put your thoughts through the academic side of this conversation. So for this one, you are going to pick one scenario to analyze. So the scenarios we have is dealing with minors. It's going to be dealing with the health of the mother and then religious beliefs. So basically, this is kind of how it's going to break down. In the first part, you could discuss what your personal opinions are. So you could step out of the assignment for the second and you could just kind of diarrhea of the brain of your personal opinion about the topic of abortion. And then in part 2, now here I'm kind of watching, like I said, to switch gears. Put yourself in the shoes of the social worker and discuss maybe how they would react if they were one of these moral systems. Say they were a social worker who was deontology-based religion, or maybe they were a social worker who was about natural law, or virtues, and discuss how they would go through it. The one is, this one right here discusses specifically what Kentucky laws protect the social worker in scenarios like this, or not. The laws tend to be very vague, especially with the reversal of Roe v. Wade. So now the courts don't really have, a case to fall back on. They have put this squarely on the states themselves to decide how they want to do this. So I've noticed this one kind of takes a little bit more digging for this part. But basically what's going to happen is you have 3 scenarios. So I'm going to go over each one real quick. So the first one is a minor. So in this one, I've given you a fictitious scenario where you have a 15-year-old who comes to you and tells you that they want to get an abortion, but the state requires their parents to know about this. So here's the dilemma. What is the social worker supposed to do? So again, you will use this, when you come and talk about part 2. The next one is the health of the mother versus the viability of the fetus. I've given you a situation right here, and again, you put yourself in the social worker's shoes, and how would they get through that? And then the final one is the religious one. This is a fairly new one. I would say in the last 10 or 15 years, the ethical duty versus the moral duty of medical practitioners has kind of come to the forefront. If you step into a field that requires you to do something that goes against your moral framework, like it goes against your religion, do you still have a duty to override your personal beliefs and perform your duty in that field? So that's what this one kind of right here kind of explores. How much of your personal self gets set aside when you step into that ER, or you step into that medical building? Or, does your medical or does your moral belief get to kind of trump that? Like, hey, it's against my religion to be involved in an abortion. I don't want nothing to do with it. And do you have, the right to step away from that? So that's kind of what this scenario kind of deals with. And this scenario works well with this part right here, because there are some states in the last few years who have been siding with morals trumping duties of job. So that might help you kind of answer that question too. So, okay, so that's what this option is. You will pick a scenario, and then you will kind of filter it through all of these right here. So you will use the same scenario for each one of these. Like I said, one is this diary of the brain, get your thoughts out. And then morals, a moral theory, and this one will go into play with whichever scenario that you pick. So let me know if you need any help or any clarity on this.